Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Cosmo Muse Tarot. And this week's Monday reading, I am doing a reading that connects to sort of an astrological system. It's called the Dreamspell, and it's a version of kind of the Mayan Tzolkien or timekeeping. And in this system, there is a 260-day cycle. A little bit about this, there are 20 seals, which are like archetypes or specific energies within this system. And then there are 13 tones, which are like resonances or different vibrations. And to match each seal and each tone takes 260 days. And we each have our own particular concoction. The day you're born on would have a seal and a tone associated with it. Just kind of an aside if you wanted to go check out your Dreamspell signature. But I'm tapping into this 260-day cycle, because the day I'm doing this reading, we are starting that over. And that starts with what's called the dragon and the first tone of magnetism. The dragon is all about birthing something new, and magnetism obviously is magnetizing something in. And so it's a really powerful day of like noticing what is kind of coming into your world. And it might give you a clue as to what it is you are working to sort of develop in that particular 260-day cycle. So even though this will come out after that initial day that this happens, when this is posted probably about a week later from that moment, this reading wants to help you to identify what it is like your soul patterning is working on and developing in this cycle. What is this new cycle about? So if you come to this before March 25th, 2025, then you are in the cycle I'm tapping into. If you come after that point, if you're coming to this a lot later, you'll have to do a little bit of research to figure out what day the current cycle started that you're in. But you're welcome to come to this. It is a timeless reading, but just so you know, the majority of people coming will probably come during the cycle that I'm initiating this reading in, which started on, for you, it starts today for me, but for you, I'll say it started on July 8th. Wait, what's today? July, hold on, July 7th. Yeah, July 8th. And it goes till March 25th. Okay, so to choose pile selections, and I would just choose one. I am going to use some astrology dice, so kind of layering in just some Western astrology in terms of the energy that draws you into the pile. So one of the dice has the signs of the Zodiac, another has the planets, and another has the houses in astrology. So I'm going to roll these, and I will zoom in a little bit so you can see them better, and just, yeah, tune into which one feels right to you, and we will get a kind of a dive into what this 260-day cycle is about for you. What is this new chapter coming in, or if you're coming a little later, what this chapter is about, and how it's sort of like affecting certain aspects of your life, and what it's asking you to work on in certain aspects of your life outside of that broad energy that it's, you know, kind of affecting and working on. Okay, so let's roll the dice. So 12, Saturn, and Gemini. You don't have to have any specific association with any of these things. Here, I'll zoom in a little closer so you can see these better. You don't have to have planets in your 12th house. You don't have to have a strong Saturn association, and you don't have to have any planets or angles in your chart that have Gemini. Just simply kind of focus on these. See if I can focus on these myself. On these dice. Maybe I'm a little too close to be very well focused. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, just focus on the dice. Feel which one is drawing you in to the dream spell journey, the chapter that we will do a reading for. All right, timestamps will be in the descriptions if you want to jump straight to your pile, and I will see you in your readings. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your reading, where we are going to take a look at what your kind of soul patterning and time patterning is working on to develop in this new sort of dream spell cycle that we are in, or if you're coming to this, at a later time from when I post it, whatever cycle you are in, what it's about, what is going on in terms of like some patterning and use of time magic. Okay, so for you, jumping off, we have the 12th house, which does have some symbolic connection to this reading. So this 260-day cycle, there could be some things where you are learning a lot and finding some patterning and time magic around how you connect to forgiveness, connect to compassion, connect to seeing and understanding shadows, both within yourself and in others and in the world. But also like really learning from that kind of work how to tap into inspiration and flow in life as well. Kind of an artistry of, it's interesting because the 12th house definitely has this feel of being able to understand the magic of time. And that's kind of what the dream spell is about too. Okay, so let's get an overall card as well, along with your 12th house association. This one feels right. Connection. Okay, let's see what that's about. And it says, the frequency of connection supports our ability to find alignment and resonance with others, things, and ideas. Ooh, really interesting. So it feels like a lot of, this dream spell cycle may be helping you to better understand how to weave threads of connection with spirit, with inspiration, with that kind of other realm, and be able to then use that to get downloads and use that to sort of communicate, like share these things that come in, share these downloads, share these threads of connection that you're developing with the other realms into the world, finding ways to articulate things, how to express things, how to use things that you are getting from other realms to, weave threads of connection in your own communities that are more spiritual and more compassionate and more inspired and more artistic. So that's a really kind of, it's a very tingly energy to me. Like it's very high vibrational. It's very sensitive to the subtle, but also like moving that. And that's why, I don't know, like I just want to do this tingly thing with my fingers. If you're actually watching the screen right now, it just feels like light energy moving. So that's something about this wave spell, dream spell journey, has something to do with developing that ability to move spirit, to connect with spirit, to communicate with spirit, and to move that information and express that information, and weave webs that are, of creation and expression that are very spiritual in nature. Okay, let's also see what kind of spiritual assistance that takes on, like even a deeper meaning for your guys' pile. Spiritual assistance. So this may give insight into the kind of spiritual connections you're building in life. So we're going to get a goddess card to talk about, you know, the spiritual assistance you have during this dream spell cycle. Woo! Well, a lot of cards wanted to shoot out. Let's take the top one though. But I would just say, look at this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards shot out. I just don't have time to take those all, but I think it's important to note that, like, even though this top one is like the head spiritual kind of assistance and guidance you'll have, there's a lot more than that. But let's just see what this main one is, like the boss of the spiritual energy that you're connecting to, who's in charge of it. We've got Mama Kocha with water. And I love that. Just tapping into that water element is really about flow and inspiration and an ability to I don't know, like really tap into a surrendered state, a fluid state, a state of being able to kind of channel and move things. And it is like one of the more subtle of the elements. And then also 33 is a master number, and it's the master teacher. So there may be a call for you to be teaching, and that makes sense with connection and yeah, I mean, like, connection to me has a lot about like dispersing information. So there may be something that you're getting some sort of spiritual downloads that you may need to translate into a way of teaching or bring into something you're teaching. I'm just gonna look at the guidebook real quick to get a little more. This is not a goddess I know too much about, so I don't need the guidebook on all of the goddesses, but this is one that's not super familiar to me. So the world we inhabit began from the oceanic waters of life and the waters that surrounded us in the womb, both of which are the domain of the Incan goddess Mama Kocha. We are most attuned to the qualities of water, as the element of water symbolically represents our emotions. Our emotions move us to make and perceive the world as we know it. The beauty in this truth is found by observing water in all her properties and forms. Water is fluid and passes through cracks and flaws in the ground without stress, moving around obstacles and patiently wearing away the most jagged rocks until they are smooth and gleaming. Water ebbs and flows, comes and goes in a powerful rhythmic motion as the seas and oceans reveal their promise of release and return. Water rises up from the ground and seeds the clouds and the rains upon the earth to ensure growth and sustain life. Water turns to hard ice and blankets the world in a protective shell, even of soft snow, allowing the dormancy of life to herald a time of dreaming. Then the ice melts and the cycles begin again. The answer to your question lies in determining what form of water reveals the condition of your life, and then recognizing the next evolution of your life's potential. If you are in an ebb, you can expect a flow. If things are temporarily frozen, soon they will melt. If it seems that your world is too wet and temporary shelter is needed, you can expect new growth and sunny days again. Mama Kocha reminds you that the waters of life are perfect as they are now, and just as perfect in the way they will evolve. Unlimited potential is revealed when this goddess comes to visit. So yeah, think about that. Like, what cycle of life do you feel you're in terms of like ebbs and flows, overflow or frozen, those types of things, and feeling that like this cycle of the dream spell may evolve you in some way, but in a way that's fluid, in a way that moves with grace, without friction, without that just is seamlessly from one state to another. So yeah, plug into that, what that means for you. And then just also remember that there were a lot of other spiritual energies, but this is kind of like the boss one, the main one, the top thing. But below that surface of the water element, there's probably a lot of other spiritual energies that you are going to be connecting with. Okay, let's get an animal energy, which I tend to like to plug into the animal realm to learn things about our nervous system. In like the Celtic cosmology, the plant and animal realms live in the lower world, where it's like a little bit more dense and slow. And for me, I know it's a lot more than our nervous system, but for me, I feel like I'm always getting messages from my body, from my nervous system. And so this may give some insight. If you have your own connections to what animal comes out, make your own associations, for sure, do that. But I also have this intention to see sort of like what your body and nervous system are doing during this cycle, what's being worked on. This one wants to come out in butterfly, so transformation. So there is something going on around transformation for you guys, because this water card directly referenced like evolving from one state to another. And then we have butterfly, which, with connection and butterfly, it still like again brings up that tingly feeling, that light movement of things, that very airy movement, high vibrational movement, gathering and dispersing of things. And butterflies are pollinators. So there's definitely something transforming in your state. It will be a very spiritual time. You may need to do a little bit of grounding work so that you don't kind of float off into the ethers. Like a lot of times we can have these beautiful spiritual awakenings or downloads or experiences, but then we never ground them in to earth and like actually manifest with them. So I do feel that need to say that like your nervous system may be at like a state that's very light but active and a little airy. So I do think some grounding practices will help to soften any anxiety that might come from that, or overly airiness that could come from that, like floating, like if you feel like you're floating away because you're having so many spiritual experiences. It's sort of like, do some grounding practices just to sort of take care of yourself during this. I think that's something coming from the butterfly as well. Like this is sort of where during this cycle your energy's in that butterfly, but it's okay to land on the ground as a butterfly sometimes too and take a rest, right? So do that when you need to do that. It makes me feel like maybe you've already gone through the transformation, like you're already maybe that evolving of the state of the water from one state to the next is maybe already, for a lot of you, I think already taken place, because I'm feeling like you're already that butterfly, you've already transformed. And now it's kind of like learning how to handle that transfer. It would be weird to come from a caterpillar that's always on the ground and all of a sudden you're a butterfly. You go to sleep in this chrysalis and the next thing you know, you're this butterfly that's broken out of this cocoon thing. And all of a sudden it's like, life is very different. All of a sudden you're in the air all the time and you're chasing, pollens, and there's this lightness going on. And I would imagine that's something you would, as a human, have to get used to, that change. So I do think there's something with this dream spell cycle. It's about like getting used to and patterning in, like understanding the rhythms and patterns of this new state that you're in, which is a little lighter, a little more spiritual in orientation. Very interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of stack these so we have a visual of them. And then we are going to move on and get some tarot cards to show kind of the 4 cardinal directions of life and what the cards would like you to know about this dream spell cycle and these more kind of specific areas of life. Okay, so get your sense of self. I'm going to get a couple cards out first. And we'll go over what they symbolize as we get to them. That one flew out. Okay, one more up here. Wants to come. Oh, that's 2. Let's just take the top. Okay. All right. So we are going to get also a different tarot deck for some confirmation on each, but we'll start with the initial card. So in terms of your sense of self, your energy, your motivation, what's giving you a sense of drive, what gets you out of bed in the morning, what's going on with your sense of direction and drive and motivation in life during this cycle. And we have Prince of Wands, and that has, let's see, this is a new deck to me. It's the Thoth Tarot, which is a very mystical tarot by Aleister Crowley. And I literally just got this and I haven't played with it too much. And it's interesting. I think he uses prince instead of king, and I need to do some research into why and what that means. But I am going to, because that is the one kind of card that's really different than I would normally be used to. I just want to see what the book says on that. So Prince of Wands, airy part of fire. So swift, strong, hasty, rather violent, yet just and generous, noble and scorning, meanness, if ill, dignified, which it's not, it came up right, so I won't even read that. So the airy part of fire, it feels like air and fire, that's a little bit combustible. And even in this image, you just sort of see this, it just feels like a flash of movement. So I do read your personal energy as very alive. And we have that air connection again that is so present in the overall kind of sense of things going on. But a little bit of fire added to your sense of energy level with that. So there could be some sort of hasty movements, some impulsive feelings and actions, and even I don't want to quite say some anger, because there is such a spiritual flow going on here. But heat comes up here, a sense of heat, but I think it's more in how you're moving rather than what you're, rather than events of life, right? Rather than the dramas of life. It feels more like your energy is very alive and active. And so in terms of sort of grounding, again, a little bit of earth here, talking about when you feel like you need to ground things, you could also notice that when you feel overheated, when you feel hot in temperature, hot in emotion, hot in a sense of even anger, just in your own energy. It doesn't have to be related to anything specific. It's just, sometimes we just have a certain energy in us that doesn't necessarily have to relate to things going on in our world. You just wake up and you're I just feel motivated today because there's some anger, I just need to clarify things. Like, what am I doing? Where am I going? It's more like involving yourself here. So I do feel this energy of like within yourself, like maybe trying to clarify what this light, watery energy means. This transformation that you may feel has taken place in your general energy of being a little airier in life, a little more spiritually connected. It's sort of like this impulse to understand what that means and to do something with it. So sometimes you may feel like I need to do something with this, but I don't know what to do with it, so I'm just going to do something with it, you know? And I feel like it's sort of like find some grounding in order to like this lion. It's like there's a focus, there's a way you need to direct your will. This person, like as they're learning how to use that really tempestuous energy is what I want to say. It's like they're learning how to take the reins and direct it. And so like a little bit of grounding and a little bit of patience, I think, will help you learn how to direct what you're feeling in a more sort of specific way, rather than just kind of letting your energy go everywhere, right? It's like find some patience, some breath, some meditation, some pauses, some grounding to help you find focuses to direct your energy toward. Okay, let's get a confirmation card about this. Ooh, there's so many things happening with cards just like falling in this reading. And it's just like confirming this like tingly energy. It's like really, really light and really fast. And that's why I just keep feeling this sense of like saying like it's okay to ground a little. It's okay to like, you know, especially like my guess is there will be some impatience being felt during this cycle. And it's like it's okay for not everything to happen all at once or in immediate, time. It's like take advantage of that energy you have, but also take some steps to like ground it and find focus. And then we have Queen of Pentacles in reverse and confirming it. Yeah, grounding. I feel this Queen of Pentacles in reverse is like saying like, it's like the counterbalance. Like in order to balance this, like you need to not just ground, but like really ground. Like this is Queen of Pentacles energy resting to me. Like get your rest. There is a regal sense of direction within you, but you will find that by resting. Yeah, this to me feels like if you don't rest, you will miss out on that more regal sense and more pragmatic sense of directing your energy in a way that like helps you to manifest and materialize things. So a little patience, a little extra rest, these things will help you to find those pragmatic and regal focuses to give direction to things. Okay, next we're going to look at your sense of like foundation, depth, sense of security, and home during this cycle. And we have Four of Cups, which says luxury. I kind of have a feeling I'm going to be relying on this guidebook for this Thoth Tarot, because I would never relate before with Four of Cups with luxury. So I'm like, what is that about? Let's check it out. I guess we're just using the book on this. Okay, so Four of Cups, luxury. I'm just going to skip to the divinatory meaning. Success or a pleasure approaching their end, a stationary period in happiness, which may or may not continue. It does not mean love and marriage so much as the previous symbol, which I guess would be Three of Cups. It is too passive a symbol to represent perfectly complete happiness. Swiftness, hunting, and pursuing, acquisition by tension, injustice, sometimes some drawbacks to pleasure implied. So like the key phrases though, that was a lot to take in. So let's look at these key phrases. Receiving pleasure or kindness from others, but some discomfort therewith. Interesting. So, like thinking about fours, that is stability, and that is a sense of security coming through. And then with cups, that's emotion, that's your sense of connecting to your sensitivity, connecting to flow, connecting to emotion, which, has come up in general with that Mama Kocha. So there is something here that like a 4 showing up in the foundations of your life is showing that there are some stable things going on that you probably have already been in, because this is sort of indicating like this kind of restful period, like, and sometimes like my normal association with the 4 of Cups might be like a little bit of boredom or a little bit of not fully recognizing sometimes like some of the privileges you're sitting in just because it's become commonplace to you. So not always taking advantage of the beauty of the safety of the moment, the beauty of the stability of the moment. But there is space here for contemplation. So, or like that energy showing up in the category that it would normally even be associated with is like stability on stability. So this is saying like it's okay to indulge a little bit in the space you're being given in the safety of life that's already been cultivated. Like, don't get bored with that. That is helping you to ground. That is the counterbalance we've been talking about. Like, it is available to you. There is some safety and foundation around you that's giving you time and space to contemplate. But I feel that tension of like, your energy is wanting to push forward and explore this new form that's like coming through in your energy, or this thing that's unfolding in your life that's a little bit spiritual and fluid and tingly, but something in your foundations and the roots of your life are kind of keeping you in place at the same time. So I do feel some tension here of like, I want to move forward, but something has me kind of a little bit stuck in what is. And this is saying like, don't take for granted though the comfort you are afforded right now. It is giving you some stability as you're learning what your wings are, as you're learning what this energy is. It's sort of like the butterfly came out of a cocoon, but it's in this like beautiful like butterfly sanctuary. Like, you may want to get out of the sanctuary and go explore with your new wings and butterfly form, but there's some reason why this sanctuary wants to kind of keep you in a bit of a bubble still. And it's saying like, this is saying like, take time to appreciate that like you're really protected and safe right now. And it might be because of this like impulsive energy that's coming through you. It kind of wants to help you to get a hold of that first before it lets you out of the sanctuary to go be in the world. So it's helping to temper something is what my sense is. So use it and appreciate it. That you are kind of in this new state in a little bit of a bubble. And then we have 5 of Cups as a confirmation. Oh, fascinating. Okay, so what is that talking about, past or future? Because these 2 cards would contradict each other. So it's like either you've come from some instability in foundations and you found it, or you're ready to give up that sense of stability. But usually it's like a loss that we don't necessarily have full control over. I don't know, maybe there are, there could be some losses this would make sense. There may be some losses going on in your life, which is why you're being spiritually protected with some stable foundations and some space for contemplation and a little bit of stagnant energy in your kind of home and foundational life. Is like you're being gifted some space to feel what you need to feel, because at the same time it's like you're coming into this very big spiritual awakening, and sometimes it's loss that triggers that. Sometimes it's loss that wakes us up to a new sense of being, a new sense of ourself. And so you're in this sanctuary because you're being gifted some time to kind of grieve and understand what this is awakening in you, what this change in life is awakening in you. But I think like the big thing to know is like you're being protected. So like appreciate that and lean into it, right? Very fascinating. Okay, that took a minute to get to, but that makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's look now at relational energy. We've got Knight of Wands, so that's fire of fire. Very quick moving, very passionate, very, you know, like I think of the Knight of Wands as like the swashbuckling, you know, especially in kind of those Renaissance type of stories and whether oral, written, or on film, they're kind of like the figures that come in and are, you know, a little bit of the hero of the show, but can be a bit temperamental, a little rebellious, a little bit risk-taking in nature. So there is like excitement going on in relationships, which is fascinating because a lot of times when you think about loss, sometimes, you know, I mean, I guess not always, but in my head I was kind of associating this with relationships, but I meant to keep it open because loss comes in all forms. But this is almost like assuring that it's, at least for the majority of you, I don't think it's a relational loss. This loss is something, I don't know, maybe we can do at the end a tarot card to see. Well, you know what? I'm not going to further define what loss is because it's probably different for everyone. Whatever, so it's, you know, you would know what this would mean for you, a sense of loss. But I get the impression for the majority of you, it isn't necessarily relationships, because there's a lot of action, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of stuff going on in relationships that is very exciting or excitable. Sometimes things that are active that way don't feel exciting to us, but we could be like, yeah, it's excitable, but I don't feel it as exciting. But I think a lot of you would maybe feel it as exciting. You could even be this figure. You may be like actively dating during this time, like on a dating app, and just like actively out there meeting new people relationally. And it doesn't even have to be romantically relationally. There could just be a lot of active and assertive energy in you to relate with others, to, well, connect out in the world. That makes sense. You are you know, this cycle, it has a lot to do with connecting and pollinating. And I think we have Prince of Wands and Knight of Wands. Your personal energy and your relational energy are very tied. You are definitely, I think, asserting a lot of that fiery energy into relationships, probably of all kinds. Romantically, business-wise, friendship-wise, community-wise, just like relationship building feels very alive here. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so let's get a confirmation card for that. This one. Three of Cups, community. Definitely like soul tribe, soul people, soul family. So family members, friends who feel like family. I think there's a lot of action, a lot of relating, a lot of weaving. You may be creating new sense of community in this cycle. Like if you feel a lack of community, you may be directing this connective, airy, watery, tingly spiritual energy into like weaving new threads of community, going out and finding. I mean, that feels very resonant, like going out and finding your soul people. If you don't feel like you're surrounded by your soul people, this is a cycle that it has you going out and actively finding your soul people. Very cool. And if you already have them, like maybe you're adding to, or just building greater threads of connection with them, or, you know, whatever it is, mix of it all. Okay, and then last we're going to look at kind of position in the world. For a lot of people that could be career, but if you're not like a career person, it could just be like how you're seen in the world, what you build a sense of responsibility and mastery in. And we've got Prince of Discs. A lot of like people, you know, court cards, which makes sense with that connection energy coming through here. There's a lot of, you know, and then we have the community card itself. So there's just like a lot of, this cycle is definitely bringing in a lot of work and using magic and time to be out, being different versions of yourself, meeting lots of different people, active with people you already know. There's just like a lot of movement with others going on here. So Prince of Discs is, yeah, I mean, it said that this is the air. The princes were, princes were the air element of the suit, so the air of the earth. But let's see. Let's again go to the guidebook. Okay, here we hold on one second. Let's see, airy part of earth. Okay, and the divinatory increase of matter increases good or evil, solidifies, practically applies things. Oh, I like that with the bull, practically applying things. So in career, you're actually much more, I mean, we still are touching into the air. So Prince and Prince is airy. And then that air stuff coming through with the butterfly and connection. There's still a sense of like moving information, moving expression, channeling downloads. You may be getting spiritual downloads that directly relate to what you're doing in the world or what you're building a sense of mastery in. But putting it to work in a way that's like very pragmatic. So I do see you standing on much more like manifesting type energy in terms of career. So that might be like the most productive. And I mean, I don't want to say productive because these fire, your sense of self and relationships are very fiery and active and moving. But in terms of creating results and building things that are like more lasting and stable, I think career is the thing during this cycle that is like the more stable of things. And doing something, you know, with what you're doing in the world, there does feel like there's a focus, there does feel like there's a schematic or a plan, and motion and energy put to that, but also still a lot of communication. Okay, and then we have the Hierophant in reverse here. I think this is indicating you need to trust your instincts when it comes to career and what you're doing. Like there may be some norms and traditions and bosses that you have to kind of decide for yourself how they influence you and how they don't influence you. There may be some things that you need to go your own way and trust your own instinct with when it comes to career. that might, directly oppose an authority or a boss or a tradition in some way. But I do feel you're very, like there's an intelligence and a focus. I do think you need to trust yourself here. I was hesitating for a second because of all of the fiery energy and this like lightness and like you're getting to know this new state of yourself. So I had a pause where I'm like, oh, do you need to actually listen to bosses? Can you trust yourself right now? But this, sitting with it, I was like, there's something in terms of specifically career or whatever you're doing in the outer world or working really hard to master that there is more kind of practicality and solidity there, and it's like trust your instincts there in that particular part of life for sure. Okay, to end, we're just gonna get a couple of messages from the crystal realm to leave you with, just little kind of guidance notes for this cycle. We've got lapis lazuli, make a decision. So that could be related to a lot of different things. It might be make decisions, sort of like whatever this 5 of Cups meant for you in terms of loss. You may be the one walking away from something or leaving something behind in your life, and like there may still need to be some kind of decision around that. There could be decisions to make around different types of relationships in your life, and probably some decisions about how you're trusting your instincts. Okay, and then let's get one more. But if this sticks out, if there is like a decision on your mind that you've been sitting on, this is a call to action with that, to make a decision. And a couple of readings before this one, I did do a reading that was all about insight into a decision you need to make. So you might want to go watch that reading if that really speaks to you. Okay, and chrysophrase, allow yourself to receive. And I think that that's that sanctuary you're in. Like there's something, even though it might seem humdrum to you, there's something comfortable you're sitting in, some stability that is comfortable, allowing you protection, allowing you contemplation. And I think this feels like it's saying receive that, but also receiving messages, receiving these threads of connection to these other realms. I think it's like receive connections as well in general. Like you don't always have to be the active connector. You can allow connection to come to you as well. That could be part of it. So yeah. All right, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. If this resonated, I always appreciate support, likes, shares, subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments, and I wish you well on this dream spell journey, and a lot of exciting energy here. So get into it. All right, see you guys. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading, where we are going to look at sort of the broad themes of the dream spell cycle that just started, at least for my time, on July 8th, 2024, and will end March 25th, 2025. If you come at a later date, you might want to do your own research on which dream spell cycle you're in when that started and when it's going to end, just to have an idea of the timing for you. But it's sort of about time magic. It's patterning things in our soul during this time, really understanding directions and elements, and in general, it's using time in a more magical way, and it's doing soul patterning work on us. And so we want to just look at what is magnetizing in for you during this journey what this one is about for you. And you picked the Saturn group. So as a very, very broad top level theme, there could be things going on with this cycle where you're learning a lot about discipline, accountability, responsibility, focus, dedication, and really building things. It could be a time a time that brings a lot up around career or authority or mastery in life. But in general, just like helping you to find greater integrity, greater character, and greater ability to kind of shoulder the responsibilities of life. Okay, so let's get even more intricate into this and see what resonance is coming through in alignment with this cycle for you. This card's wanting to come out. And so we've got, intuition. All right, and this says, the energy of intuition supports our ability to conceive the subtle language of the realms beyond the three-dimensional reality. Wow, okay. I also, my own interpretation is like really trusting that our body and our higher self has a lot more wisdom than we usually kind of give it credit for. Or trust in. And so this cycle may be bringing a lot of ways, like in a very dimensional way, might be bringing ways to find more integrity in trusting your intuition, a lot more focus to needing to trust your intuition, a lot of needing to trust your intuition in your mastery, in your authority. There may be things that aren't, that might not seem rational or logical, but your intuition is telling you to do when it comes to certain responsibilities you hold in the world, and like a lot of learning of like how to trust those inner knowings, those your gut talking to you, just certain voice in your head. Something I will say about intuition, and I will give credit to where I learned this from, because I've had other people ask me how to know what is intuition, and I learned this from like an herbal practitioner that does a lot of like beautiful intuitive coursework. Her name's Asia Solier, I think. The intuition, the way to learn what it is versus other things like anxiety or excitement, because sometimes we are like, I think that's my intuition, but was that like a past experience popping up that was speaking to me anxiously or excitedly, or from one, like a different programmed voice or trigger or patterning. And the way to tell the difference is intuition is totally neutral. Intuition isn't excited, it isn't anxious, it isn't anything. It's neutral, and you'll feel that just a knowing that's calm and there. It's just present. There's no emotion attached to it. And so you may be learning a lot during this dream spell cycle about like what your intuition feels like, what that neutral voice feels like, what those hunches are, what those whisperings are, how your body speaks to you through intuition, whether that's through gut or heart or whatever. Like really getting in touch with your own particular, how your intuition communicates to you. It's different with all of us. There's lots of ways it can come through. And you may be, gaining tools where you're able to expand the different ways it can come through to you, because you're understanding it. You're giving some practice and devotion and focus to intuition. But yeah, I do think there's a lot that's going to come through about how to know your intuition and how to trust it and how to bring, a responsibility to that as well. Which can be hard when you're making, especially like decisions in career or as a boss. If that applies to you, that can be a hard thing to trust and to lean into, right? But it doesn't have to be in that capacity. You could be using this in your personal life, but just finding a lot of, more masterful way of understanding and focus on intuition. Okay, let's see what kind of spiritual energy and guidance is around you for this cycle, which may speak to some of the things that would go on as well. And we have Great Goddess, Sacred Unity. Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to read just a little from the book. I don't need too much on this one, but let's just I'm just going to read like this last couple sentences from the guidebook. The Great Goddess reminds you that you may see yourself as different than others, but you are all one in her presence. Treat others as you would be treated, and miracles abound. This is truly an auspicious time in your life to grow and expand. So there's something very spiritual also happening in terms of your intuition, like your intuition really wanting to connect you to higher vibrations, your intuition wanting to help you to see past limitations in your life. Sometimes Saturn can represent things we limit in our lives, where we hold certain limitations. And this Great Goddess might be helping you to use intuition to kind of break free of certain limitations that have been placed on you, or that you've adhered to, or even created out of your own sort of experiences in life, and seeing things as much more interconnected and much more open and possible. And I think, I do get the feeling like your intuition is helping you to maybe break out of certain limits. And at the same time, you're finding this focus and dedication to really master intuition, because it's really helping you to, literally shatter some ceilings, shatter some boxes of understanding about separation versus unity consciousness, like a more compassionate sense of self in the world through that understanding coming through here. So interestingly, even though Saturn was the dice you chose, that's like there's some very spiritual energy coming through here, which may be like a common thread about this particular dream spell that we're going through, because the first pile was incredibly spiritual in nature as well. But I think this one in specific is helping you to shatter some limitations, shatter some boxes and some notions, and break free of certain attachments and authoritative voices in our lives and in our heads, to see better into the unity of things, to see how much more connected everything is. And your intuition, like the more you focus on it and dedicate to knowing it and trusting it, the more it's going to lead you kind of past limitations you've had in your life, really opening certain things up to grow life in a different way, I guess, in a more in a way, I don't know why the word coming through is like possibility, in a way that is like more is possible. Like your intuition wants you to see that more is possible. That's literally just channeled messages coming through. That was interesting. Okay. Let's get an animal card too. My intention with the animal card is in Celtic cosmology. The plant and animal realm live in the lower world, where things are a little bit more slow and dense. my experience going to the lower world and sort of like drum journeys, is I tend to get through animal messages a lot of information about my body and nervous system specifically, and I know that there's more to it than that, but I kind of want to tap into the animal realm to get sort of nervous system and body information. Sort of like where you're coming from, how is this cycle making you feel in yourself? Ooh, and we've got Lamb. So you're very open. This cycle, yeah, it's like you already are quite open. And it could be a little bit shocking at moments with how open you are to receiving messages of like, I think that was coming through of like trying to talk about like what to know, how intuition, what it feels like, and that neutral energy, because some of this energy that could be coming into you could be really, really high vibrational, which can trigger some anxiety sometimes. And I think just like some patience. I think because you are very open during this cycle, if you're confused about, is this coming from intuition? Is this coming from some kind of spiritual message? Is this my own sensitivity speaking from like an anxious place? I think like time, like be really gentle with yourself during this cycle and give yourself time before sort of responding. When you feel that neutral, just trust. That's like, yeah, you can trust that. It will feel calm. It will feel sort of precious and something you want to protect a little bit. The way like when you think of like a little lamb, you kind of want to like be gentle with them. And I think when you're getting intuitive hits as well as spiritual hits, you'll know to trust it when you want to be very gentle with it. Like it will still be from that neutral place, but there will be this sort of like gentleness coming through. So if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling certain triggers, it's like wait that out, let those settle until you feel something more gentle come through. And that's going to help you to know when you've found the right focus, when you've found the right integrity of intuition and of this like very spiritual energy around you. But definitely expect messages to be coming through. I think beyond, like, yes, from your intuition, but also from beyond, from other realms as well. So you're downloading and receiving a lot of messages during this time. Very interesting. So next we're going to look at some more specific categories of life and how this dream spell cycle is going to impact those. And because there's such this emphasis about like receiving messages from intuition and spirit, I kind of also will keep that in mind as we go through each of these 4 cornerstone categories. So we're going to get tarot for that. We're going to look at self, like your motivation and general energy. We're going to look at your foundations and sense of security and home, and then we'll look at relational energy, and then sort of more outer world. For some people that's career, for other people it's just like things you're working on to like master or hold responsibility in. Okay, so let's get a card for each of those. And then we will also do a confirmation card as we go along into each of those. This one wants to come out. Okay, one more. That one. Okay. Let's get our confirmation tarot deck. Okay, so starting with your general energy, what's motivating you, what's giving you a sense of drive, a sense of energy this cycle. And we have 9 of Wands with strength. 9 of Wands has a lot to do with reflection, looking back on a cycle, to integrate wisdoms, to integrate understanding, to really know how to hold it all. It does like represent that like you're still kind of a step away from completing a journey, but it's like things are needing to integrate. The takeaways are needed in order to like get to that last step. So your personal energy and your motivation may be in a little bit of a reflective mode, but I love how aligned that is to the general energy that came out, is that when you are in this like reflective state and looking back and really downloading what a big journey has been about, that's sort of like when you do start to like plug into new wisdom, and that makes way for new kinds of spiritual frequencies and energies to reach you, and definitely heightens your intuition, makes it more sensitive. So yeah, like because your personal energy and your motivation during this cycle is very reflective, that's exactly what's opening you up to your intuition and to kind of spiritual energy coming in. But I would expect a lot of wisdom sinking in, a lot of integration of things you've already been through kind of coming up, and like understanding and new ways of knowing how to hold life in a bigger way due to things you've been through, things you're understanding, due to experiences you have had. So my sense is this pile, you are coming to this dream spell cycle having been through some really big experience. It's not quite over, but you've been through it. And you're integrating a lot about that during this cycle. It doesn't mean you've exited that journey, but there is like this pretty long pause for you to integrate things. Okay, let's get a confirmation card. We've got Queen of Swords. Yeah, I mean, a lot of trust in your knowings is coming through here. The integrations that are happening and the new wisdoms that you're kind of downloading are helping you to trust your mind better, trust your mind, your ideas, your sense of an ability to draw boundaries in your life when needed, and which paradoxically helps you to be more open, right? And so I think that is adding to this openness, is like you know how to be open because you know the things to close your boundaries to. I hope that makes sense. It's like when you know what doesn't belong in your boundaries, you're more confident to be open because you don't, like, you know how to identify what doesn't belong. Your mind is sharper. Your connection to heart mind is a little bit more nourished. Yeah, you know, and like queens are the water aspect of a suit in that sense of self, and it's like a nourished, you know, with the water connecting to swords, is like a nourished sense of mind and idea and sharpness. So it's like, you know, that you have the strength to draw the boundaries when you need to, because there's like a nourished sharpness, a nourished strength, a nourished, yeah. It's interesting. A nourished sharpness is what's coming up here, but it feels very wise and gentle at the same time. Okay, so looking now at foundation, sense of security, sense of home in life, we've got Princess of Discs. So that is like the earth of earth. So all of the court cards have like their own element, and then the element that court card is, it's like, you know, so if it were Princess of Swords, it would be like the earth of air. But this is, because it's discs, it's like the earth of earth. So there's like a lot of pragmatism, a lot of foundation and solidity underfoot going on here. Yeah, it's allows you to feel like life and yourself, well, your foundations in particular, because that's what we're talking about, like your foundations are very solid, and because of that you can afford to be generous with safety, with security, with, you know, and that foundational area, even though it's a category of our life, when that's strong, that gives us you know, when we have a strong sense of security and foundation in life, that makes us feel protected to tap into intuition and trust intuition. So this is affirming and confirming that is true, that like your foundations are in a place during this cycle that are giving you a real sense of the ground underneath you as safe. And so you can be generous with intuition. You can be generous in how open you are to giving and receiving, because your sense of safety is quite stable and solid in things. Okay, so let's get a confirmation card here. And even if that doesn't, you know, like, sometimes that sense of home, safety, security, it doesn't have to look like, you know, you've got wealth and $50,000 in your bank account, liquid, and a mansion and a nice car. It doesn't have to be that at all. It can just be this sense of like you're safe in yourself. You're safe in who you are and in touch with your soul, hence you're just safe wherever you are in the world. So whatever that means to you, you know, maybe you literally have a lot of security underfoot, or maybe you're just secure in yourself, right? But there's something going on here that like during this cycle, there is like a lot of stability underfoot. Okay, let's get a confirmation card. We've got Temperance. Yeah, I mean, going back to that first self card and like motivation and your energy coming from this place of like reflecting, because you've already been through a lot on a journey, even though that journey isn't quite over. It's like you've been through a lot. Part of what has already integrated and is still integrating is this ability to really know what home in yourself means, and how that brings a much more sense of stability in how you carry yourself, and it actually turns on kind of like a radiance from within. It's like there's a lot of wisdom you've gained through what you've been through. I would say let's talk about like the last dream spell cycle, so the last 260 days. I think there's maybe a lot you've been in that's taught you how to more eloquently and gracefully and fluidly hold yourself and be comfortable in yourself and comfortable in trusting who you are and what you're doing and what your intuition is telling you. So I actually even feel like you're coming into this cycle already in a pretty good place with intuition, and now it's like you're really using it as a tool and finding that flow with it and really connecting to it in a really big and powerful way. Yeah, so I do think the people coming to this pile are like, whatever this dream spell cycle is doing for your intuition, it's like you're not a beginner at this. you've already been through journeys that have taught you a lot about this, but you're like really leveling up in a way that you wouldn't have expected. In a way that is just bringing a whole nother layer of awakening within you, of trusting yourself and your intuition as well as the universe, and really seeing through like the matrix of things. It's like you're seeing, because like Saturn can also be about like building, seeing, understanding structure, and you may be like getting these spiritual and intuitive understandings of like the structure of the cosmos, right? Something like that. I don't know, however that makes sense to you. Okay, so now let's look at relationships in your life. And this doesn't have to be romantic. We have all sorts of relationships, but it is sort of talking about relational energy in your life. And we've got 2 of discs. So balancing, there's a lot of things that you are trying to find what the priorities are, how to balance it all, what you're holding. So there's a lot of relational energy that you're holding, a lot of responsible energy that you're holding in relationships. If this is sort of like more in terms of romance or spouse, it's like you may be building things together, or holding just like a lot going on kind of in the material world. Whether that's career or literally kind of managing kind of financial things. If you have a family, it's like what's the greatest priority? How do we get this kid to this place at that time? And who's taking responsibility for that? And who's working? And who's staying home or working part-time, or just like what are the there's a lot of energy around like what are the priorities and who's holding what responsibility, and a lot of figuring out the delegation of things and what the priorities are there, but like a lot of fluid movement too in that, and a lot of capability, like a lot of strength in it. It's sort of like things are flowing, like you guys are like in the relational domain, you're holding a lot, but with grace, with strength, with capability. And so it doesn't have to be spousal or romantic. This could be also like a business partner. There's like a lot you're balancing and figuring out and delegating business wise, or you could just have like a lot of relationships in your life that need attention. It's like, how do I prioritize and balance that all? And like whatever it means to you, but that relational world is showing sort of like a lot to manage, but strength and grace to do so, and really knowing what the priorities are. Okay, let's get a confirmation card on that. We've got Page of Swords. Yes, like movement, definitely movement going on, ideas being exchanged, possibly a lot of new ideas being exchanged that could be exciting. And that's like, how does that fit into all the things already, that are being managed here? But a lot of exchanges, a lot of ideas, a lot of fresh types of communication going on for sure here. Okay, and then last we are going to look at like outer world status. So that could be career for some people, that could be school for others, whatever it is you do in the outer world where you're building, a sense of mastery in something or responsibility in something. And then we've got 6 of discs, which is sort of a flow of like a trust in the giving and receiving, especially materially in life. And so it does indicate a flow of resources, like things coming your way, but you being generous and open to letting things go as well. So a very generous attitude and generosity coming back towards you, showing the universe that you can afford to give away, not because you don't want something, but because you can afford it. Indicates that to the universe that you're open to the flow, right? You're open to moving things around in the material world and open to the giving and receiving. And that generous spirit brings, just like a lot of positive flow of energy and resources in life. So in terms of career, you could be connecting to like a better sense of what your value is and how to exchange your value, a better sense of valuing your expertise and how to give of it in a way that brings back. You could be experiencing sort of generosity from bosses, and that, like professionally, that could look like being given extra vacation time or a stipend for something and you taking advantage of that, or taking your vacation days because you've earned them. And so that adding to this flow of like, yes, like I love to hold responsibility, but I also love to know that sense of responsibility I hold in the world allows me security to take time off, and that balance coming in of knowing like that life doesn't always have to be, about reaching and building and climbing the ladder, that there's some kind of like sweet spot that allows you to enjoy life so you can enjoy what you do for and in the world. And that kind of generosity to yourself brings, I think, generosity just around you in that realm. Others, attracting in bosses or companies that want you to feel well nourished and well rounded, right? Who see that you know your value and want to value you the way that you should be valued. Yeah, okay, and let's get a confirmation. We've got Knight of Cups. Yeah, and I think that absolutely is like with determination, with passion, really understanding what feeds your soul, what makes life feel romantic and exciting in the subtle realms and fulfilling. It's like a passionate understanding of what fulfills you in the outer world. So if you don't feel like you have that right now, this cycle is going to help you connect to that. Like, what actually fulfills me when, in terms of career or school or whatever I'm doing out in the world? What is that fulfillment? What do I find valuable about that? How do I find my own self valuable in that because I've built some mastery in it? And how can I use that to stand up for my, what's fulfilling about that and what's right for me in that intuitively, like really connecting into intuition here in a passionate way about what's the right balance, what's the right sense of generosity, what's the right sense of what my value is that brings fulfillment on a deeper level. So really beautiful. Okay, that is the main bulk of the reading for this cycle. We're just going to end with two messages from the crystal realm to leave you with about this dream spell journey that we are tapping into. So we've got Iolite, shift your money mindset. So, I do feel like that's talking a lot about, both this like foundation and security and kind of career and mastery can both be speaking about like finances in our life, and they both have this sense of like flow with the Six of Discs in the career section and Temperance in the foundation and security section. It's like shifting your money mindset to be more generous, to let things move and flow, and trust kind of the flow of life, like kind of let go of some grasping. And I think this intuitive awakening and spiritual awakening that's coming will kind of maybe bring you messages about how to kind of move from more of like a grasping to a trusting and a generosity, and moving how you value yourself in the world to attract back the right kind of circumstances. Okay, and then we also have set strong boundaries. And we tapped into that, right? It's like, know what is not allowed in your boundaries and what is. And that way you can be quite open yet sharp. Like there's an openness but a fierceness, like it's like an open heart and a sharp mind. And people won't mess with that, right? If it's open heart and like a soft mind, that's where things can get taken advantage of. But when you have a sharp mind, those strong boundaries are in place, allowing you to have an open heart, allowing you to have an openness and, you know, a surrendered state to universe and experience and others, because your mind is like kind of sharp on like really being clearer through your, you know, it's coming, the clarity of what your boundaries are coming from your intuition, but your mind is the one that's aware and looking for, you know, the things that aren't allowed in with its sharpness. But intuition and heart and soul can be very open when mind is used as a tool that way. So setting strong boundaries in this way means sort of like really getting clear about what is not allowed in your boundaries right now. And I think there's a lot of reflection during this cycle going on about that and how to protect yourself from those things that are no longer allowed into your boundaries, and trusting now that you have like certain experiences that warn you, that show you much more quickly when one of those things is coming, and how to be sharp with that. And yet very open and fluid in other ways, right? So like, yeah, I hope that makes sense. There's a little bit of paradox there, but yeah, we've talked about it a little earlier in the reading, so hopefully that kind of makes sense there. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this resonated. If so, I always appreciate support, likes, shares, subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well. And I wish you well on this dream spell cycle that we are tapping into for you, and really beautiful stuff coming through, like big awakenings, big downloads, big integrations and wisdoms being kind of found and yeah, really in a strong way integrated into you. So yeah, cool. All right, I will see you guys in future readings, and have a beautiful day wherever you are. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading, where we are going to get some insight into the current Mayan Dreamspell cycle that you are in. Kind of looking at soul patterning of this 260 days, how there's some like time magic or understanding of how to use time more magically in this cycle too. And the dice you guys picked was the Zodiac signs, and Gemini was the sign that came up. So there's definitely something involved in this cycle for you with communication, movement, community, a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. We'll see what comes up. So let's get another card that adds to this kind of major theme here. And you guys have 6th chakra, which is your third eye. Very fascinating. Yeah, the last pile, there's some resonance there's resonance with both pile 1 and 2. So there's definitely some very strong universal threads going on, but I think it comes out in very different ways for the different piles. But there is something going on with like inner knowings, trusting yourself, having a lot of foresight, potentially some psychic activity, and a deep trust in intuition coming through here. And this having to do with, in relation to this card, it feels like your articulation. I don't know why that feels really important to say. There's something about articulation and trusting that you should and can communicate these knowings that are coming through. So this cycle may have a lot to do with like trusting how to trusting yourself to articulate things that are coming from like a more inner place, from your inner compass, from your inner knowing and foresight, and things that are sometimes hard to explain, but still trying to use your words and communication to get certain messages across, or to express yourself in certain ways. It's like it's important to articulate things that are coming through inside of you that may sometimes feel hard to do, but you're being urged to do so for some reason. And we will find out more specifically that for some reason as we get into the reading. So let's tap into the kind of spiritual guidance that will be available to you during this cycle. Of course, you probably have, some of you, your own, guides that you work with regularly, but we want to see if there's like, a specific kind of spiritual energy that wants to show up for you. This one wants to come out. Wow, Nick's secrets. Yeah, that makes sense. So there's very kind of maybe mystical, occult, types of knowings that you're tapping into, some very mysterious and mystical knowings that you're tapping into. Definitely feeling like some psychic things being tapped into. And with secrets coming through, this is giving a little bit more dimension to what the Gemini energy is about. That communication energy is like also trusting your inner knowings of like what is and isn't right to share. There actually may be some things that you would like to share that you shouldn't share. And it's like trusting those inner knowings of like timing, because we are talking about timing, magic and time with this dream spell stuff. The right timing to express things and communicate things, because they are coming from such deeply channeled places, deeply intuitive places, deeply psychic places, and some of the things you're tapping into during this cycle could be, delicate or hard to articulate, getting back to that articulation thread. But there's something about as time goes on, like using time and patience with time to find that articulation. It's like, maybe it's like you'll know the right timing to reveal certain things you have knowings about when the articulation comes through, when you have a clear way to articulate something. I think there's something about that, because this cycle is definitely doing some magic integration in terms of like psychic ability. And very fascinating, very mysterious. But trust, definitely coming through to trust the knowings that come. not all of them will be from intuition. A lot of these could be, they just come like clear cognizance, right? They just come, certain knowings. But as you hold that energy yourself of like very deep wisdom, very psychic energy around you, other people literally could be also telling you their secrets. And that obviously is something that like you have to be careful about in communication, of like not, you know, holding your integrity as a keeper of secrets, right? Yeah, that, I mean, that's so fascinating. I feel like I could go off on an hour-long tangent on that. Through having access to psychic secrets, to other people's secrets, to just like a certain wisdom and observation and sixth sense you have, just like sort of intuitively knowing certain secrets. It's like there's a lot of power with that, that can be wielded in ways for good and wielded in ways that are a little abusive, right? And so I do think that this cycle is here to teach you a lot about the power of knowings, the power of secrets, and the power of finding integrity of like how you articulate, keep, or share information and connections. Oh, fascinating. Wow, this is a really, definitely took a turn I wasn't expecting. Wow. But yeah, I think there's something you're learning about power and information and just attracting a lot of stuff because of your sense of knowing, your sense of foresight, your psychic ability. It's just like magnetizing in a lot of potent information. Okay. Oh, we've already done the goddess. We're also going to pick an animal card to get a sense. So as I shared in the other piles, the way in which I'm using this animal card is, I work a lot with Celtic cosmology, and in that particular cosmology, the lower realm, there's a higher, middle, and lower realm connected to like a tree of life type thing. And that lower realm, at least my experience of it, is very much more dense and slow, and it's where kind of the plant and animal realms are. And it holds more than this, but I very, very often gain a lot of insight and information about my nervous system and communication from my nervous system and body through that realm. So I'm using this animal card to sort of tap into that, to see like where your nervous system is in this cycle, how it's affecting that, and hence kind of how you're holding your sense of embodiment too. Okay, this one wants to come out, and we've got Tiger, which in this deck is a very lunar oriented, very feminine, mysterious kind of psychic energy, and it is like working with the moon and the night and intuition. And yeah, I just think that there's this definitely confirms what I was feeling, that there's this like observational ability that's kind of being mapped into you, into these like soul patterning energies that happen during this time. You may already, my sense is that you probably already have like a foundation of this, and that's why this is coming in. It's just like deepening this in some way. But yeah, this is a cycle that's really going to connect you to that sixth sense, to being able to observe the seen and the unseen in very uncanny ways, and lots of knowings, lots of psychic energy, lots of secrets. And in the tiger, you think of those big jungle cats, especially the ones that are night oriented like the tiger, and there is just this sense of like they see everything. Even when something has no idea it's being watched or stalked, it's there. It's seeing things that people don't realize are being seen. Not because you're like being creepy, but like you just there's something patterning into you of like a certain awareness, a certain sixth sense, a certain uncanny knowing of things. I've had a lot of those in my lifetime where someone's, I'll give a vague example just because I know this person doesn't even know I have this channel. But like a friend, I had an experience with I had a friend, long time friend. Over the years, you move different places, are with different people, and like we lived in completely different states at the time, and randomly wanted to come visit me. I'm trying to decide how much to say because of that whole secret stuff. I'm like, I'll be careful, because you never know who ends up watching a reading. Anyway, came to visit. There were a lot of scenarios that happened in that visit that I don't think she was aware that I like very much so saw through. And then some of the things I saw when she came to visit, it was like a year or a year and a half later, had to make a call to me to deliver some really difficult news about her life. And I knew when I saw her name pop up on caller ID exactly what it was going to be about. And it's not that those experiences would have informed me that this was going to happen in a year and a half, this thing she had, wanted to communicate about her life and her actions. Not necessarily about the actions she took when she was visiting, but certain things she was up to. I could never have guessed that in a year and a half it would result in this thing she wanted to communicate to people she loved. But you still take things in, and there's just a sense, there's a sixth sense. I had a sixth sense of things that were going on. And when that call came in, I had a sixth sense of exactly what it was about. And it was really very specific and difficult news. And I knew exactly before she said a word what it was. And it's like that kind of thing. And it was very, all dealt in secrets and very covert things. And I knew exactly, like, it happens, right? And that's not an energy I always carry. I don't see that with everyone or every situation. But that's like one thing I could call out. And I would imagine everyone's had something like that happen before, where it's like a person calls to give you certain news and you just know, right? And it doesn't happen every day, but in your life, I'm sure there's at least once when something, everyone has those moments where someone calls and you've thought about them a minute before. I think that happens often. But like really, really big, secretive, heavy things. So anyway, I know that was really obscure and kind of covert, but that's the nature of the reading we have here. And I think it kept in tone with what I'm trying to talk about here is like, I do think you're going to have this uncanny sense about very interesting things, both in your normal day-to-day life and people around you, but also in these like more mystical ways, like secrets about the universe, that kind of just come to you. But it's very Ooh, it's kind of deliciously rich, powerful, potent energy. It feels positive to me, though. I know that it can go in a negative way, because if you watch shows like Game of Thrones, where there's like the master of secrets, and they can use that in really destructive and manipulative ways. I don't, at this moment, get that feeling from here. It feels just more high priestessy to me than master of secrets to me, but it's powerful energy to carry and to understand and to develop integrity in. And so most likely there will be some lessons around this and how to use it. So yeah, like, be thoughtful about it, but don't beat yourself up if you do learn some hard lessons about really powerful things. It's a learning curve, right? So yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Okay. So we'll keep these out in the center, and we are now going to look more specifically at what I call the 4 cornerstones of life, or categories of life, and to see how this cycle is sort of impacting those, what kind of energy it is bringing to the cornerstones of life. So starting with your sense of self, so what's giving you energy and motivating you, how is this cycle impacting that? And then we will also look at foundation, sense of inner depth and security, and home in life. And then we will look at relationships, and this can be all kinds of relationships. It can be, spousal and romantic, but it can also be business relationships. And, we have all sorts of relationships in our lives, right? And then we will look at our outer world energy as well. So that could be career or school or any other way in which you are developing some kind of responsibility and mastery in life. Okay, so starting with your sense of self and energy. Ooh, we've got Ace of Wands, very empowering. I think you're feeling very alive, very creative, and very empowered by the energy of this cycle. And you could literally have a fabulous new kind of creative spark in you, wanting to create something new, something exciting, and something powerful. Okay, we're gonna also be using another tarot deck to get confirmation on all of these. And 3 of Swords, fascinating. There's a depth here, and that doesn't surprise me with what we've seen with the general energy we talked about. Whatever is arising, whatever new kind of magnetic energy and creativity is coming through you, it isn't like, it's not coming from a naive place. It's not coming from a place of just curiosity and exploration. It's coming from a place of having been through something deep and wanting to convert some pain or some grief or some disappointment or some just like big experience that was difficult into something creative, wanting to move that in creative ways and like feeling ready. It's like something's integrated that was difficult in your life that's ready to be now reinterpreted and made into like art. And you're feeling it's like there's a lot of personal motivation and energy attached to that, like a readiness to assert into having recycled something you've been through and doing something beautiful with it, right? Or just creating something out of it. So yeah, again, it's just like really powerful energy. But this adds to why I think I felt the sense of like a high priestess energy versus master of secrets energy is like, you've been through things, you know what it means to feel hurt, and you don't want to you wouldn't want to inflict that on others. You don't want to hurt others because you know what that feels like. So that gives you that sense of depth that is very trustworthy to the universe in terms of revealing its secrets to you and giving you a certain aura around you of like you are someone that can handle the kinds of secrets people want to get off their chests, the kinds of the kind of, you can hold the kind of energy where people feel like you have a knowing they might need, a certain depth of insight or something, right? Okay, and now let's look at home, foundation, sense of security in life, and we have 4 of Wands. Something to be celebrated, so some really beautiful energy coming in, and it could literally be around home or family, something to celebrate, kind of a rite of passage in some way. Or this could be more obscure, since we do have some obscure things going on in your reading, where it's like you're really connecting and confident and fierce with your sense of intuition and feeling really strong and secure in that, hence able to like wield that in a very celebratory, giving, passionate way, a willingness to really share your soul with others because it feels, just stable and strong, right? Okay, let's get a confirmation with that. I definitely want a confirmation with that because that feels very mysterious. Okay, and we have Tower in reverse. Oh, wow. Okay. The words behind you came up. This is behind you. The Tower in reverse is behind you. It's like, this feels like, and it could feel connected to this 3 of Swords too. It's like, something in life didn't pan out. Something had to be swept away rather suddenly, or with kind of a burst of like, this isn't working anymore. Something was cleared out of your life, but it's sort of like it's in the rubble now. It's like behind you. And just like the way I felt like you've integrated some pain, right? You've integrated some sort of disappointment and difficulty. It's like you've integrated whatever you've cleared out or was cleared out, especially in like home or family or something connected to just your sense of security in yourself, trust of intuition. It's like some of these things maybe weren't built right before, but you've been through the process of like clearing that out, and now you're celebrating because something wasn't actually right for you in your foundations, and it's been cleared out, whether it was from you or was cleared by unforeseen forces. But in actuality, I think it freed you to find foundations that feel more alive to you. And there's a sense of celebration for you around that. A sense of blessing around that in some way. I don't know. Definitely with both of this 3 of Swords under your sense of self and Tower in reverse under home, it's like very personal territory. You're coming out of something that's been hard for sure, but sometimes those kinds of experiences that are really personal life disappointments and hardships gift us with tools we never could have imagined having. And I think you're understanding those tools and ready to wield them now. That makes a lot of sense for the power that's coming through in the overall energy. Okay, now let's look at the relational energy in your life. You have the universe. Wow, okay. And I forget in this deck if this is actually the world or judgment. So let me just check on that real quick. Let's see. Oh, Aeon is judgment. So universe is the world. Yeah, something, okay, so relational energy, there's some success energy there. There's things that are crystallizing. There are things that are maybe newly even being planned after sitting at the summit of like a long journey that you've completed. Like something's been completed, something's crystallized, something's fully understood. And it's sort of like enjoy some like strong relational energies. They deserve to be like, it's sort of like you deserve to sit in a certain recognition and accomplishment in some things that are crystallizing around relationships. But at the same time, it's like there's these new wishes and seeds planting kind of within under the surface of it. But externally, it's like it's a time to kind of celebrate some real strength and solidity that's been accomplished in your relational life. And that could be business relationships, it could be a spouse, it could be any other, you know, I mean, we have so many relationships in our life. Like it could be as more simplistic, like tying back into some other area of the reading, like maybe because that relational thread can also be like people that advocate for us. So like agents and attorneys. So like maybe you have won a legal battle around this home territory where something was destructed, but now there's celebration because there was something won, or like an agent really came through for you because something fell apart with a home and they helped you to find a new home that you love, and now it's, you know, but like some kind of success in relationship could be tied to the celebration that's coming through around home or security or family. They don't necessarily have to be tied, but I feel a thread there. Yeah, but some kind of success with some kind of relationship. And confirmation card here. 8 of Pentacles, and it's because you put in diligent, hard work. It was well earned. Success in the relational domain has been hard earned. You deserve it. There's deserving there. There's skill there. There's instinct there. There was practice there. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen just because you trusted it to happen. You worked at this. You practiced something having to do with success relationally. And then career or school or just outer world responsibilities or something you're building mastery in. We have Knight of Swords. So the Knights hold fire energy. So fire of swords or fire of air. Knight of Swords is like the fastest moving energy. So you may be having a lot of like very clever, very intelligent ideas when it comes to position in the world or things you're holding responsibility in the world. There could be a lot of fast action taking place in career and those types of things. The one warning with the Knight of Swords is like sometimes we can be too clever for our own good, right? Or use too much mind where heart needs to be leading. But that being said, it's like the Knight of Swords has that ability. I'm quoting one of my tarot books here. I don't know why this quote popped up and I don't remember which tarot book it was from, but it's like the Knight of Swords has the energy to turn art into science and back into art again. There's this articulate, fluid, brilliant, dynamic, crafty, amazing mind that is very, just fluid and dynamic. But if you lose heart, it can get you into trouble. Too smart for your own good, right? Schemes that don't pan out or ended up being a little more cruel than intended. So I think the one warning here would be don't lose your heart, but do expect a lot of brilliance coming through and a lot of action coming through and a lot of dynamic energy coming through in your outer world life. And then let's get a confirmation card for this. We've got, Eight of Swords. Oh, I like this. You're going to break out of something. It's like you've been trapped in some way, maybe professionally or in school or whatever that outer world thing is to you. It's like you've been trapped by your own mind, but you're finding a way out. The Knight is the one, in one of the tarot theories, what was it from? Someone's tarot philosophy. I can't remember where it's from. I might have just heard it on a YouTube, someone talking about this, but 5s can be trapped energy, and the thing that can break us out of being trapped is a Knight. And I know that this is an 8, not a 5, but the 8 of Swords is a mental prison, but a mental prison of our own making. There is an open door. Oftentimes there's a bird in a bird cage with an open door with the 8 of Wands, and it doesn't see that it can fly free, doesn't know that it can fly free. But the Knight here is showing that even though you're in some kind of cage that you feel stuck in terms of career type energy, you're breaking free of it. Some kind of ideas, some kind of dynamic energy. It could be all of this beautiful psychic, spiritual insight and information, or secrets revealed to you from others, or just through your uncanny observations, are helping you to see past your own limits, past where you're holding yourself back. You're going to break free of your own trappings in career, and fly free with gusto, with dynamic, in a big way. That's all I can say. I know that's not very articulate, but really breaking free from something you've been trapped in just a really profound, exciting, beautiful, brilliant way. So very cool. Okay, to end your reading, we are going to get a couple just guidance messages for you from the crystal realm. We've got Moonstone, live your purpose. Wow, that adds a layer onto things. All of this really intense, powerful, uncanny, psychic energy that's coming in, and seeing how much such positive cards on the top row with the tarot of when I'm taking them all in at once here, it's really pushing out into life again is what it feels like. I do think during this dream spell cycle, you are tapping into a new level of purpose in life. So that's really cool. Okay, and one more crystal card. This one wants to come out. We have Garnet, ignite your passion, which we see with Ace of Wands. Yeah, live your purpose, ignite your passion, kind of like one and the same message in a way, but just in giving those different angles of the same kind of message is dynamic, which is what we are seeing here. A lot of dynamic, potent, powerful, magnetic energy coming through. So very cool, very exciting. Trust your intuition, trust your knowings, trust your psychic abilities, wield power thoughtfully, and really step back out into life. I feel the need to say back out. I do think like you've not been out in life in the last cycle. Like step back into life here. Okay, that is where I'm going to leave you guys. If this resonated, I always appreciate support with likes, shares, subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well. Wishing you an amazing dream spell journey, and I hope to see you in future readings.